So, I'm not going to be talking about the show so much as I'm going to be talking about kind of what the theme was, which is, for me, was a big thing. Was the exploration of people living in people's memories, in stories, and the things that they owned. That after death, as the show says a lot, Gabe said, we are tucked away into memories of those we loved and only retain who we are for as long as we are remembered. That time takes us with it, and all that is left is a whisper down the lane of stories of who we were that can be misunderstood or misremembered, or misunderstood, misremembered. It can be in good ways or bad ways. It really depends on who you have to say in them. So in my section, I'll be unpacking why humans want to be remembered, how many approach being remembered, and the ways legacy can be misunderstood with time. So I read a few articles specifically on the anthropology reasons, study of humanity reasons why we want to be remembered within our cultures. And in an article titled The Desire to be Remembered, a review and analysis of legacy, motivations, and behavior on Science Direct, and another titled 5 Reasons We Want to Be Remembered on Psychology Today, they outline 5 reasons as humans we may feel compelled, both through a want and a need, to be remembered. The first reason is the need to be loved and to belong. This is something that's really pivotal in the human experience, both in life and in death. Generally, people just really want connection with others. We're generally social creatures. So as people generally seek out community and social connections in life, they do so mutually, in theory, in death. And the want to maintain this connection extends past the existence of us. So they say that the scientists point out that for some people, the wish to be remembered positively after death may simply be a psychological artifact of a strong wish to be liked by others while still alive. That our desire for connection and energy our desire for connection and the energy and emotion that went into that transcend our lives. So, all the people we meet, we want them to remember us. And we want to have enough connections and friends and family and people to know who we were for however long that may be. The second reason is making life better for their children or grandchildren. Generally, the idea here is to be remembered positively or negatively. Both have consequences after a passing. Someone who lived a life that was notoriously harmful or even misunderstood can negatively impact the relatives that continue living after the death of that family member. And that the community impacted by this person or by the rumor of their impact, what gets written about them, what kind of historical things end up being found and misconstrued, can affect how the community as a whole views the surviving family members. So they live an example, if you had a family member who was a notorious criminal, and was taken down, was arrested for their crimes or whatever, the children and family members of that criminal may receive hatred from the people who are impacted by them, or even just the rumors of that reality, children get bullied for it, stuff like that. And then inversely, if you had a profound positive impact on a community, that can positively impact your families, thinking more generational wealth, or generational community members, people who get a bench named after them, stuff like that, and this goes as well with generational poverty. Whatever you leave behind is going to impact the generations that follow you, whether that's good or bad. Number 3 was fighting death anxiety. Essentially, people don't want to die, and that's reasonable. People feel a lot of anxiousness about that. And something we see at the end of the show, which stood out to me, was the wife, the one about to get married, was crying. She's I think about all the time what it would be to lose that person. And then you have Jamie's character be that's inevitable. You just have to take everything day by day and enjoy them while you have them. And that's a truth about life. So a lot of people feel a lot of death anxiety because they're scared of the possibility of loss. And this is increased even more when you have someone if you've already experienced loss, that it's more in the forefront of your mind. So as a way for fighting death anxiety, the idea of securing a legacy or preparing for one's inevitable death can alleviate this anxiety, as well as like some people do this through religious or spiritual beliefs, and others do it through monetary or symbolic methods. So they say leaving a legacy similarly could help fight off death anxiety by granting a sense of what scientists call symbolic immortality. So by leaving behind something of great value, people create a memory that outlives themselves and gives them a feeling that their existence has mattered. And it all just stems from the desire to have your life mean something, and that is more of like an individual's perception of what's happening. And then some people hold value in different things. But books like The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, I remember that was like really impactful to me when I was in high school and I read that. Speak to this and the human's desire to know the meaning and purpose of their life, and that they need there to be one. That they need, if they're not remembered, they need their life to matter for something. So for example, like The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, the whole thing there is that like, you impact people in ways you don't even know, that you don't even have knowledge of. So that kind of stacks and has impact on people who you have no idea you did that with in a positive way. So like you could have just like pushed your cart back to where it was supposed to go at the grocery store, and unknowingly to you 20 minutes later, that saved someone from getting hit by a car, like stuff like that. Like you just don't know the impact of your life. So the idea of like that, in death, you'll get some sort of purpose, or you'll get some sort of knowledge of what it all was for, is something that can grant people peace, essentially. Telling a story is another one. Another reason for the wish to be remembered after death that is identified by scientists is the wish to tell one's personal story to future generations. People often see themselves as their protagonist of their life story. We forget that other people have their own protagonist feelings, you know what I mean? Like everyone thinks they're the protagonist. So similar to a leading actor or actress in a movie, we all kind of think that we're the hero of the story. Not everyone, but like lots of people. Enough that they made science about it. So this life story develops over the years and helps people in understanding significant life events and challenges, kind of tying back to like, you just want your life to mean something and you want people to know that it meant something. So essentially in psychoanalysis, there is a concept of generativity, which is the wish to guide future generations as well. The scientists point out that generativity may also be a major reason why people want to be remembered. So for example, writing a biography, giving a moral or advice-based lesson for future generations gives the idea of you're having a lasting positive impact. You've changed the world in some way, and someone will know you were here. And the last one is making it easier to imagine the future. Essentially, people don't know what a future without them would look like. There's like animes and stuff made about that. So like Yu Yu Hakusho, the whole thing is that he's like, no one would miss me. And then he finds out people would definitely miss him. And he's like, whoa. And there's like so many, not even just animes. There's a lot of animes where you get isekai'd and you're that. Or just like stories in general where that takes place. What is that one? It's like a Christmas movie. And he thinks he doesn't matter, and then he dies.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. There's like so much media that revolves around that idea that like people just don't know what it would be like.
Christmas Carol.
Yeah, exactly. So people don't know can't imagine a future with them not in it anymore. And death results in a permanent absence of consciousness. So no matter what someone experiences, their absence of consciousness is really hard to understand. So by leaving a legacy behind, you're ensuring that people remember them forever, consciously. And it may be easier for people to imagine a future with which they're at least remembered so that they still exist in some way. So in another article that was pretty depressing, I'm going to preface that. It's a depressing article because the title is, You Will Likely Be Forgotten Soon After You Die. Ow. On Medium, they discuss the length of time a person is on average remembered when they haven't been granted the power or privilege that many well-known people are. On average, it is said that it takes 2 or 3 generations for someone to fade entirely from the familial or public memory unless they are recorded in some sort of history book or taught about in some way. That's why a lot of people, like, in their grieving process, like I know for my own like personal journey with that, is like a lot of my creative stuff has the people that I've lost in it, in the hopes that if someone reads that, someone else knew them. You know what I mean? It keeps them alive in some way. So the same idea is here, that without some sort of legacy to leave behind, if they were not successful in that, sometimes people think like the children of that person's duty is to preserve that legacy. Or sometimes it's just a personal feeling. So on average, it says it's 2 to 3 generations. And the article describes this passing of time and the exit from memory as a second death. We see this a bit in Bly Manor, in that even if the spirits continue on at Bly, their faces, their motivations, and who they really were fade from memory. All that remains is the energy that they left behind, like the impact of their actions that are all kind of like obscured. Like we don't know the whys unless we're told, which we do get in the show, but like a lot of them for like the bulk of the show until we get to like episode, I think like before the last one, where you're just like, wow, what's happening? Why this ghost so mad? You know, why they murdering everybody? So yeah, you get like the continuation of the impact of that person, the harm that they caused or whatever, but you don't get them anymore. You don't really get like who they were as a person. So they continue on to say, it's worth noting that some people may be remembered for their contributions or impact on the world, such as historical figures, leaders, or people who have made significant contributions in their field. But for the vast majority of people, they will be remembered by only a small circle of family and close friends for a finite period of time before they too pass on and are forgotten. That wow, this is depressing. That's me saying that part. Wow, that is depressing. It can be recognized that when people either exist socially, continue to make art, write, make science, some other kind of creative field, they're all likely to be remembered in the subsections of those communities longer than within just the family structure. So like, if anything, it's like motivation, like go write some stuff, write a diary. Because, you know, sometimes diaries get picked up as historical evidence of what that time period was like. So things that can be left behind and found by later generations lead to a legacy being maintained, although sometimes misunderstood with the passage of time. So from a historiography standpoint, keeping writings from a lost loved one can be the really great way to preserve their consciousness without them here, seeing their handwriting, reading their words, seeing the way that they saw the world. So it's like anything that they created. Keeping those things is like a way to preserve that kind of memory of them. And from a history standpoint, hundreds of years from now, they could find that thing and be like, humans during this time did this. And you might not have your name there, but somebody remembers you, even if it's in this obscured way. So even the mundane could be studied by future historians to get a better understanding of what the world was like while we were alive. In another article titled, How to Stay Famous After You Die, AI scientists have an answer from Forbes. It's kind of silly, but they discuss a study titled Postmortem Memory of Public Figures in the News and Social Media, and it was conducted by Robert Ress, Leskowicz and Christopher Potts. And the study analyzes how people are remembered in news and social media before and after their death, focusing on trends and factors influencing post-mortem memory. The researchers essentially found that an unnatural death of a young public figure resulted in the longest lasting memory, with a significant spike in media attention immediately after death. Artists tend to have a more enduring legacy compared to leaders or athletes whose significance decreases once they cannot replicate their actions. So like art, you can't make the same art unless you're making copy. You know what I mean? Like a lot of artists get not respected in their a lifetime, but are respected and retroactively. So the study also notes that Twitter users pay less attention to the deaths of older public figures or leaders, and that finally it suggests that avoiding premature death and living longer could increase the chances of becoming famous later in life, if that matters to you, and thus the likelihood of being remembered.
Avoid premature death. Sure.
Yeah, try really hard.
What am I
die.
doing regular? That's not avoiding that. Like, what can I do to do that? What's the answer?
And also, like, what things do you have no control over, like from a class or governmental standpoint?
Just get famous.
Make that harder. So, in another article that I'm going to kind of leave my section on, maybe we can talk about the question that they posed because I thought it was pretty interesting. Is in an article that I only was able to read part of because the paywalls suck. But it posed an interesting question, and it was called "The Desire for Legacy is a Mental Glitch, but we can use it for good" from New Scientist. And in this article, they provide two scenarios. So I'm going to ask you, Gabe, which you'd prefer.
Okay.
And I'll say which I prefer too. So in the first scenario, you have lived a life filled with love and meaning and enough money to get by comfortably. However, after you die, something terrible is revealed about you, which may or may not be true. And people will come to despise you. Scenario one. In the second scenario, you have a life of relative hardship and obscurity, but after you die, it is revealed that you were an incredibly talented artist and your reputation is assured forever. Which option would you choose?
This is like the worst would you rather. Because this is like the possessor thing. Whereas like she lived that whole time and now she's going to be remembered as like this monster.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't care if I'm obscure and I live in relative hardship as it is. But I think what it is I don't care if after my death I would be incredibly like revealed as an incredibly talented artist. This is essentially that episode of Doctor Who that everyone loves where he finds Van Gogh and he's hella depressed because that's what he was.
Yeah.
The most depressed because no one cared. No one gave a fuck about his work. And so he brings him to the future where his art is in a museum and it makes him cry. And I was like, good fucking help that was. Like, he's still dead. Like, like, does he remember this? He's not, because he died. You can't change what he was feeling and what happened to him that led to his death because you're changing like history. So I would rather like be forgotten than be remembered for something terrible, like have my history rewritten.
Yeah.
You know? So I'd rather be forgotten. If that's an option, that's a secret third option that I've invented.
Yeah. I don't think if I'm not around to have to deal with the perception of me, it doesn't really bother me if people were like, wow, they sucked. Because it's like, I know I don't suck, you know?
Yeah, but we just talked about how it also impacts your family and community.
That's fair.
So it's like, you're not here, but the people you leave behind are here. And now they have to reconsider their entire understanding of you.
Yeah.
And your like existence with them.
Yeah. So that's what makes it hard, because it's like you do have like the better life realistically in the first version, but you're perceived by others better in the second version. I think there should be, as you said, like a secret third option where it's like I have like a good life, but I'm just forgotten, and that's chill.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. And I think like the idea of the only reason it wouldn't be the first one for me is because of what you just said. Like, I wouldn't want that to harm the people that I love. Other than that, though, like, I don't care what people think. I'm trying to work on not caring what people think. I actually deeply care what people think. But I'm trying to not do that. That's part of, like, the unmasking and the healing that I'm trying to do. I want to not care, you know? I just don't want that to bother me, because why should it if the people around me love me, you know? So ultimately I agree with you that there should be a secret third option, but I probably, if I had to, I guess, pick the second one.
Yeah, I guess if I had to, I would pick the second one.
Yeah.
like, because does it it's like there's a big question too. It's like, okay, it says you live this lovely life, but did you? Like, now you didn't. I don't know. I just think we are more than now. Like, we are more than just us. Like, we aren't the main character of the story, right? We are a character in the rich tapestry of history in the world, right? We are the interactions with other people and the impacts of other people, right? Everything you touch, you change, Toni Morrison says. So everything I touch, I changed. And then it's revealed that those touches were sinister and now are...
Well, they said it could not be true. It could be made up. It could just be a rumor.
Yeah, but belief is so much stronger than reality. We live in America. So I feel like, it's just like a whole conversation of like the fact that like it is such a like life. Like, people say life is short, but it's the longest thing that you ever do, right? But it's short in the way that like the parts that we live of it are short, because we just, even if we're going to be gone in a few generations, like even if we're going to be forgotten in 3 generations, we were remembered for 3 more generations than we were alive. So we lived like in this abstract form longer than we lived in this form. And so like, I don't know, I'm getting like crazy unpacking this, but I just feel like our impact on the world around us and the people around us is really heavy, and I think it's something that's beautiful and also scary. And I think that's why like the idea of them sabotaging your legacy in any way is like incredibly harmful, like more harmful than being forgotten, I think. So I picked the second one. Fine, I'll be a famous artist, whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's like they really like trip you up with that. Like, it's a hard question because it's like, I don't really care how people view me for me, but I do care for other people. So it really sets you up to like fail with the first one. It's like, I had like a nice, easy life. The third option should be that you had a very good impact. Like, it doesn't even specify your impact. It just says like you had a nice life, like you felt meaningful. Experience, it's not like your impact on other people, where I feel like there should be an option where it's like, no, you had a like profound impact on other people, and then there's another caveat to that, or like it was hard.
You just forget.
That's the caveat. Where you're misunderstood in some way, which is like, that's fine. I'd rather be misunderstood than like slandered. I think, in that context, I now have a different understanding of the Van Gogh episode of Doctor Who, and that if I die and then I'm remembered or I'm found to be some artist and people appreciate me, because sometimes people are like, oh, well, what's the good of that, right? Because that person doesn't benefit from it, but like my estate would. Like, if I leave and now like my children and my grandchildren get to inherit all of this like status, or like can live in relative ease because people have come around to appreciating something, then I, like me now, would much rather like be struggling through my life as it is, knowing that in the future there'll be, but that's a whole other conversation. Struggling now for future generations, that's just, not everybody gets that. Not everyone understands that is the key. We're supposed to be planting trees that we're never going to see grow to their full potential, but our children and their children's children will. Yeah. And I think the issue with the question is that you're revealed to be a talented artist whose reputation is assured, where it's like, I need my impact to be assured. Then I would definitely confidently choose the second one. So if you pick the second one though, you weren't alone. That's the moral of the story. That's apparently what most people pick, actually, when asked this question through the thought experiment.
Yeah, because I think like there's this understanding of like, oh, well, like, I think, just like, I think it hurts so much more if you're like twisted. Because like you were saying, like all of those points that you're saying, like that lead us to want to be remembered when we're dead, like
Yeah.
Every single one of those is tied to the fact that we're remembered in some positive way. Like we want to make an impact. We want to stay around, even if it's like our mundane regular lives. We want them to be remembered in some way. Like that just innately like exists in us, this desire. So of course we would pick that.
Yeah, and they even go on to say in this article that if most people want to be remembered in a positive way, if this was nurtured in the correct way, which currently it's like kind of an issue because you have it in a capitalistic lens where people misinterpret what positive is. And they're like, I'm just going to give my family all this money and no one else has money and we'll make dragons. I love that for us. Yeah. That's not. But if we're looking at it, if we nurture it in like a positive way where it could be used to leverage long-term global issues, as you were saying, plant trees we'll never see so that the generations in the future can fucking breathe. We could cure climate change and biodiversity and all these other things that the planet is on fire. We could stop it from being on fire and that'd be cool. I would love that for us. I'd love that. Not for us personally, but for our future humans.
For like the us. The
future of the planet, not even just humans. I just want cool little cats and animals and other things to be living their safest, best life.
Yeah. So I think that was great. That was a great question. you sent me on a spiral I didn't know I was going to be in in a way that the show wasn't doing. So I'm thankful for that. And I again, like the show itself was fine. I think there was some really great moments in it. I loved being able to see a queer relationship on screen and that they did get time together, even though it was a kill your gays trope. So they always got to die, right? I hate that. Yep. But this is a horror show, right? So we
knew going in that death was going to happen.
Yeah, people were not going to be happy. Although Hill House kind of teased out there was like a relative happiness. I think that's what it is in all of them. It's never like a happy ending. It's just like we persevered. We're going to pick up. We're going to pick ourselves up and move on, and we're going to be thankful that we're here kind of result, which is great, you know? And I did really love, you know, those moments between Hannah and Owen, the few that we got, like they were so sweet and I just love seeing Rafi. And
I look forward to seeing them again.
I love that this like ignited like Twitter and other places to really thirsting after him.
Yeah, because they should have been an eye zombie the whole time.
I was like, he's hot. What are you talking about?
He's the cutest man that
That's my sheriff. I can't accept him. Like in one time. So next week we'll talk about midnight mass.
Yep.
I don't know why that took me forever. And then we'll close it out with the fall of the House of Usher. So let us know what your favorite Mike Flanagan series is. We're obviously not covering them all and not all his movies and all of those things.
Let us know which scenario you want.
Yeah. Which one would you choose?
We'll let
scenario
this be
1 or 2.
A social discourse of... We'll use this as data. You know, it's science. We'll
contribute to it. Yeah. Let us know. You can send us an email, ghoulsnextdoor@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. And don't get married.
Don't eat your kids.
Or they possess your kids.
Yeah.
They try to live in your kids' bodies.
And also, like, what do they get from that? Like, how do they actually leave, you know?
Because
are they
she
children
didn't leave.
now?
She couldn't leave.
Yeah. I know, that's what I'm saying. It's confusing. And also, it's like, are they going to still be in love as siblings? Because, ew.
That's gross, yeah.
Yeah. And children.
Because I think that's the whole thing, is like, he didn't want to. He doesn't care about her.
Yeah.
And I think it was more like they're young so they get to live a long time, even if they are stuck in this one place. Like, you don't get to do anything. Like, I don't want to live that hard. I don't want to live that hard. If I was a ghost and it was like, okay, you could inhabit and steal the life of this child or die, I would be like, death, please.
Yeah.
Take me to the lake. Take me to the lake.
Yeah.
It's you, it's me, it's none of us.
It's none of us, yeah. You're you, I'm me. Excellent. Love that for both of us. We aren't codependent. Codependence is a problem. Don't do
never
that.
heard of her. Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. Well, bye.
Bye.